Okay, so I'm just gonna set up this this guy here, the Vanbot, so that it's set up for rendering. Okay, I don't have an animation on this one, but that's okay. I just want to set it up for rendering. What I'm gonna do is first let's go in here and I'm gonna create a polygon plane. And it's gonna be really small, so I'm gonna make it big. And I'll just go in here and yeah, we'll make it a bit bigger, something like that. That should be fine. Okay, and got my robot sitting here. I'm gonna go in to create lights, and I'm gonna create a spotlight. I'm gonna put on, oh, let's move that out of here. I'm gonna put on interactive placement, and I'll just click on his chest when I do that, just a habit of mine. Click on it, whoop, and so now I'm looking through the spotlight directly at this here, and I can kind of zoom out a little bit. Okay, that's where the edge of the spotlight's going to be, so I'm going to make it kind of big. We'll do something like this. Okay, so I'm placed, and just going to zoom out a little bit here so you can see that there's the light. The light's really small, so if you scale it up, that doesn't really affect it, so shouldn't be a problem. Just want to make it big so you can kind of see where it's going to hit. Okay. And now I'm going to render. When I'm rendering, can't really tell where the hell I am. And actually, it's kind of funny, it's come up black. I suspect, well, we'll figure it out in a second. First thing is, let's switch from software to mental ray. And I'll render it again. Just going to see if it had like a mental ray material on it. No. And now you see that mental ray now has shadows on by default. I wonder if it's got a texture on it or something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and reassign. I'm just going to pop in here, assign new material, and I'm going to be using the MIA material X. Okay, and let's render it again. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. I'm just going to take this spotlight, and if I go to, we can change the cone angle if we want to, make it bigger. Okay, maybe I'll make it a bit bigger, whatever. Maybe I'll save that for a moment. I just want to play with the penumbra. I'm just going to make the penumbra a bit bigger. I usually make it around like 20. Drop off here. I usually don't go more than 20. This is very sensitive, I find, and you'll see now that when I render, we get this nice gradation. Soft edges going out here. Next thing I might notice is the shadows are a bit hard. So if I'm looking at the hard shadows here, if I go down here, I'm going to close that depth map shadow. So ray trace shadows are on by default. The light radius is sitting at 1. That's kind of low for a spotlight. So I'm going to go and take this up a little bit. Just do a quick render. And options, auto render region, and I freaking hate auto resize. There we go. Boop. And now you can see it, it's kind of a bit jagged in here, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to crank up my shadow rays. Maybe I'll start off around 20, see what that looks like. There we go, so that's softened out. And when I hit this, yeah, that looks fairly good for now. So I got one light in. Actually, there's one other thing I got to do with the light. Is I'm going to go and put on decay. I'm going to put on quadratic. I happen to know this robot is quite big, so I'm suspecting that the intensity is going to be, let's go for 500,000! Ha ha ha! 5 million. Let's go and render. That should be blown out like crazy. I did move the light fairly far away from this, but still way too hot. So let's take out a 0. I think I hit 5 million instead of 500,000. 500,000 I figure would be about right. And I can adjust this. It's a little bit hot. I could probably pull it down a bit more or pull the light back. Either way. But that's going to be my key light. And what time am I at on this? Okay, we're at the 4-minute mark. That's easy. Then I'm going to make another light. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to click this piece of metal here. And I'll go in, create lights, and I'll create another spotlight. And so this time around, I'm going to go kind of on the opposite angle. You can see the spotlight here. This one I want to go and fill in the other side. Just going to zoom out a bit. Okay, great. And that's the way to select it. I can go into perspective view and I'll make it bigger so it's easy to see. I could probably name them. That would make my life easier too. I don't care about decay. I don't care about penumbra. I don't care about drop off or intensity. I could play around that. Or intensity I do care about. Sorry, smoke and crack. I usually knock the intensity down by about half on a fill light. Okay, just a rule of thumb. You can play with it however you want. I don't care about the ray trace shadows. I don't really want shadows from this. I just want it to kind of fill up this area over here. That still might even be a good spot. I can go back here, panels, look through selected, and say, you know what, this angle will be a bit better. Just as long as they're kind of opposite angles to each other, that's how it works best. Something else I can already tell is it's going to hit the floor. Okay, so when the light hits the floor, I don't want that, so I'm going to select the floor, select the light, and I'm going to go up into rendering. And in rendering, I'm going to lighting and shading, and there's a thing called break light links. Okay, so now if I go back and I render in the perspective, and by the way, if you can't tell exactly what you're rendering, if you go to View, select Camera Attribute Editor, just close these down. I'm looking for display options. Display film gate, and you can kind of see the film gate here, and then I go and I use the overscan. I kind of push this around till I can actually see the frame that I'm rendering. Okay, I find that really, really fast just to do this right here. I don't care about these little buttons up here or whatever, because you can't use this overscan so quickly. Okay, so that's good, and now that I got that filled in, I can even do a quick another render. Okay, so it's filling in some of the dark areas. If I want to check this out, I'll just go and hide this for a second here when I render. My renders are taking like 6 seconds. They're going really fast. I didn't save that one. So I do this, and then I do a Control-Shift-H and bring back the last thing I hid, just so I have something to compare to. Okay, so now you can see it's kind of filling in the areas. You can also see there's a funny speck hit that's coming in. I'm just going to hit Emit Specular. I'm going to turn that off of that light. Try that rendering again, so I don't have those weird hot spots. Okay, and so it's filling in a little bit. So there it's off. You can see that's a bit darker. When I do this, it kind of fills it in. And again, I could play with this a bit more, but I think I'm good. Next thing is, let's go and create one more light, and this is going to be my rim light. And I always like using spotlights, so here. And I kind of know that my camera is here someplace. Okay, and with this light, I'm going to go up a little bit like this. With this light, I find I don't want shadows. Turning the shadows off. Whoop. Okay, and the specular, I'll leave it on this time, but I could turn that one off too, and just pump up the heat on this thing, or the intensity. Right now it's at 1. I'll put it to say 2-ish, so it's like double the key light intensity, and the key light, we know that's already too hot. Maybe I'll... What did it just do? 500,000. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 million. Okay, and let's just take a look at the render now. So I got this. That's with the fill and the key. And I'll save that, and I'll render again. My rim light. Okay, and now I can see like a little rim. And I do find that spec, it depends upon my mood in the day. So you ask me in the morning, I won't like it. In the afternoon, I might. I'm just going to grab the spotlight and the floor, lighting and shading, break light links, because I don't like that big bleachy thing there. Okay. What the hell's that? Oh, you smoking crack bastard. I went in and I used the key light. I took the key light out, so let's go back and lighting and shading and make light links. I meant to take this light and the floor and hit lighting and shading, break light links. There you go. And now I'm happier. And I got everything I want so far. Let's just go and flip back to perspective. The floor, I want the floor to, well, first off, I want the background to be white, so I'm going to go to View, Camera Attribute Editor. If I go over here to, if I go to Environment, make the background white. Okay, now you see when I hit render that the background is white up here. And I'd like the plane to be white as well, and I still want it to have the shadows. Okay, and I want it to have the white that's back here. So if I right click and I go assign favorite material, and I use background, got the use background on, and I turn the reflectivity off, and I turn the reflection limit off, you'll see when I render, I now have studio lighting, or the studio lighting look. I could probably bring down the white so it's not quite so hot, maybe use some kind of light gray. Okay, so that's done. And so I got my lights more or less set up the way I'm happy. And let's do some render settings. So the render settings here, I go into common, my IFF, I'm going to switch it to Targa. I just feel like a dinosaur sometimes using that format, but I like it. Frame padding up to say 3. Oh, name number extension, frame padding to 3. Start frame 1, end frame 24. If I want to, I can play with the HD thing over here. I'm not going to bother with that right now. Next thing is I go to the quality, and with 2014 you're using unified sampling. Okay, right now it's on a preview quality. I'm just going to do the easy way, load preset, and I'll just put it on production. Okay, and that's good. 1 to 24. We already know the lighting. I've got this one here doesn't have animation on it. And the other thing I want to do is if I take this and I right click, you can go in here and assign a new material, and I like using the MIA material X, and what you can do is start playing around with just the presets. If you want to experiment a bit more, you can change the color of this and stuff, but there's all these little presets here, and so I could suddenly put on, say, a satin metal. Okay, oops, satin metal, and I gotta, actually it's not showing it, and cancel. In the presets they keep going off to the side, but when you right click on them, there's a little option to replace with a different percentage, and I'm going to use, say, just replace entirely. And so when you render, okay, it comes in, and I've got this nice kind of chrome thing going on. Okay, and you can play around with that all you want to. And someday I'll explain the rest of the stuff. The last thing I need to do, and by the way, there's things like even the car paint shader. Maybe I'll do one more of these. Here, if I assign new one. Come on! Assign new material. Okay, and I'm going to play with the car paint. That's another fun one. Comes in red by default over here. Here, if I open this up and I just do the head. Ba-bing, ba-boom, done. And that looks kind of fun too. Okay, I don't think there's any presets on this thing. No, you could create your own, but whatever. The last thing I want to do is I want to set it up to render 24 frames. There's a little drop-down menu called Render, and I go and I hit Batch Render. And when I do that, it says no renderable cameras down here. I see a little warning down at the bottom. And that happens to be because in the camera here, if I go to the camera attribute editor, you notice in the output settings, renderable is off. Bastard, bastard, bastard. You could have just created a new camera. That'd be another way around it, but whatever. This is not working. But now when I go to render and I hit batch render, you will see the result. The result down here says rendering with mental ray, and it's doing it. And it's going to take a little while, and it'll render out the whole sequence. And I'm going to stop the video right here.